Hello everyone, and welcome to RcHelpDotCom. I'm Tony, and today we're going to be programming the AR7200BX. As you can see, I've got the 450 sitting here, got the BX on it, got my DX9 here, got my computer, because in the last video we just updated the firmware with a little USB dongle that you can buy with it. Today, we're going to set it up, and we're going to get this helicopter ready for the air. And the most important tool that you're going to need, coffee, and time, and patience. And coffee. Let's get to it, why don't we? Now, one of the big questions is, how do I mount the gyro to the helicopter? Do I just use a regular double-sided tape? Do I use gel? Do I use that Zeal tape or whatever it's called? And the answer is yes. You can use whatever you want. If your blades are balanced, your tail's balanced, your shaft's balanced, and there's no vibrations, you could epoxy that thing to the helicopter and it would work. Now, one of the great features of the AR7200BX is its ability to kind of ignore the vibration that the helicopter produces. Every helicopter is going to have vibration, and a good gyro is going to be able to know the vibration from movement. And obviously movement is what it's going to react with. So the AR7200BX, perfect gyro if you have just a little bit of vibration. If you have a lot, then you need to go in, balance your blades, check your shafts, check your tail, check it all. Alright, now first and foremost, we've got to get on the computer and we have to download the manual. Now, you can come over to RcHelp, there's a link right below here, and there's an article in that link. In that article, I actually have a link to the manual, the quick setup guide, as well as the page to update your firmware if you need to do that. So we'll just dive down here to the computer real quick. Now, as you can see, I've saved the two files to my computer, and what we're going to do, we're just going to open up the manual. In here, you're going to want to go through and you're going to want to read this manual front to back at least once, if not twice, before you ever start touching that gyro. As you can see here, it explains what all the little dials are for, explains what all the lights are for, and we'll get more into that here in just a little bit. Here's you a good picture of how to set your gyro up on a 450 helicopter. As you can see, they got the long antenna coming around, they've drilled a hole in their anti-rotation bracket, and they just stuck it through there and then left this one sticking out. If you're using this on a 500 or bigger, you're going to want to run a little remote satellite right here. As you can see, they still got this one brought it back over like this to where it's going in the back. This one's going out the side, but they've also got the satellite receiver right here for even better reception on a bigger helicopter. Now, obviously on the binding, it's a Spectrum system, JR or Spectrum. It's got to have DSM2 or DSMX. This is actually programmed with DSMX in it. So if you have a Spectrum or JR, this is the perfect gyro for you. It's a receiver and a gyro built into one, and it's a lot better than that 3GX. So unfortunately, this one will only work with the Spectrum and JR transmitters running DSM2 or DSMX. If you have DMSS or you have a Futaba or an Aerotronics or something like that, then you're going to need to buy just the BeastX gyro and then use your receiver. Exact same setup procedure, but you're going to need to use a separate receiver with it. Now, to bind this thing, it's just like binding anything else. In the DX9, we have a menu. It's called Bind. You go in there, you select Bind, and you bind it up. We're going to go through that process here real quick. Alright, we're going to go ahead and take our bind plug, pop it into the bind port, then we're going to plug in the battery. Now, as you can see here, we got a rapid flashing light. Now, we're going to go into our radio. And on the DX9, we're just going to scroll down to bind. Once we're in bind, we're just going to click and we're just going to let it bind. I'm going to kind of set this over here so it's a little bit away from the receiver. And click bind.
Binding. DSMX 22 milliseconds. Bind complete.
As you can see, it's that fast. Go ahead and remove our bind plug. Then we can go ahead and we can power off the helicopter, and then we can power off the radio. Alright, go ahead and turn the radio back on. And then plug your helicopter back in. Now, for some reason, my rudder servo didn't work right after the bind. It works now. Alright, so back over here, we're going to go down and we're going to go into setup procedure. Alright, on top of this receiver, we have A through N on the menus. So whenever I go in here and I say A through N, this is what I'm referring to is all these menus up here on the top. The first menu, menu A, is going to be your mounting orientation. You can have it on the top like this, you can have it underneath, you can have it on the side, and you can mount it sideways. The only thing that matters is these servo wires have to point to the back or to the front, one or the other. They can't point up or down. Now obviously our mounting is horizontal, which is a blue solid, so that's going to be the factory setting. Alright, now that we got the helicopter bound to the radio, we're going to go ahead and dive up close. That way you guys can see exactly what I'm doing on this gyro. Alright, to get into your setup menu, all we're going to do is push and hold the setup button until menu A stops flashing and goes solid. As you can see, we have a blue light, which is for horizontal mounting. If we move the rudder stick, it goes red for vertical mounting on the side. I want blue. We'll go ahead and select blue, and then we'll just move on to menu B. Menu B is going to be your swash plate servo frequency. Now you may not be able to tell the color here, but that's actually a purple, which is your default at 50 Hertz. I know I can go to 200 Hertz, so I'm going to go to a blue solid. Your choices are 50, 65, 120, 165, and 200. I'm running the line servos, and I know they can handle 200 Hertz. Go ahead and go into menu C, and this is going to be your tail servo center position and pulse length. I know that all Align servos are 1520 US. That's just what Align servos are. And that's going to be a blue solid light, which is what it is, and that's what the default setting is. Red solid is going to be 760, and then a purple solid is going to be 960. I'm on 1520. All you got to do is move your rudder stick if you want something different. We're on blue solid. Now we'll move in to menu D. Menu D is going to be your tail servo frequency. Now on here again, I've got a purple light. I mean, you guys may, this camera may not be picking it up, but I got a purple light, and that's 50 Hertz. That's the default. Red flashing is 165. Red solid is 270 Hertz. Blue flashing is 333, and then blue solid is 560 Hertz. I know that my tail servo can actually withstand 333 Hertz. So I'm going to go ahead, move my rudder stick until I get a blue flashing light. Now as you saw, it went from off to blue flashing. There is no solid blue, which means I cannot get a 560 Hertz, which is actually pretty good because I don't need that. It's way too many Hertz for this servo. Now that we have that, it's time to move on to menu E, which is setting the tail servo endpoints. Go ahead and push the button. Now we're in E. Alright, to set up your rudder endpoints, you're going to move your rudder stick in one direction. You're going to move your rudder stick in one direction until the servo reaches the maximum endpoint without binding. If you move it too far, you can move the rudder stick in the opposite direction to move the tail pitch slider away from the binding a little bit. Once you're done and you have the maximum amount of travel, then just release your stick, and then what will happen is this light will flash. It'll either go to red or it'll go to blue. Now once the status LED flashes and it's followed by a solid purple, that's indicating that the servo endpoint adjustment is complete. Now I know that you guys have seen how to set up a tail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys the gyro, and I'm going to show you exactly what it does. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go left. That's as far as it'll go. There it flashed. We'll go back to the right. And there it flashed. Now we've got a purple light. Setup's complete. Now we can hit the setup button and go into parameter F. F is going to be setting the tail sensor direction. What this menu is whenever this helicopter turns like this, you want your correction direction to be correct. So if we move the tail, which will be nose left, what you want is you want these trailing edge of the blades to go in, to point in the direction that the tail's moving. So like I say, we'll go right, wait for it to center, I'll move it left. As you can see, it's pointing in the direction. I'll go nose right. As you can see, it is pointing in the correct direction. If you needed to reverse it, all you'll do is you'll change that status light from a red to a blue, and that will reverse it. Alright, now that we're done with that, we're going to go into parameter G, which is going to be adjusting the swash plate servo centering. Now in this menu, you're going to have different status lights on here. It's going to be purple solid, red solid, and blue solid. What we're going to do is we are going to adjust these servos to get them as close to 90 degrees to these links as we can. Now, I know you guys can't really see it. You guys have seen the setup videos on the heads, guys, I promise you. That's all we're doing in this video is setting up the gyro. The head's set up. If you need to see it, guys, come over to the forum and we'll post up a link for you guys. Quite honestly, on mine, my aileron and my pitch servo are real close, but my elevator servo needs to move. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and give rudder right. That gives us a purple light. This is our elevator adjustment. You may have seen this elevator jump. I'll go ahead and go back out and come back in. Watch that elevator. That tells you we're on the elevator servo. Now, you're going to use your elevator stick to adjust that servo, as you can see there. And you're going to use the elevator stick on all 3 servos to adjust them. Alright, now that I've got my elevator servo centered, we're going to go ahead and give it one right. Now we're on red. That's going to be our aileron servo over here on the right side. I think mine needs to go down just a hair, and that right there looks really good. Now my pitch servo over here on the other side, it looks perfect. I'm not even going to touch it. Now we can go ahead and hit the button and go into menu H. Now in menu H, you're going to select what swash plate you have on the helicopter. This is on line 450. I know this is a 120-degree swash. Your options are mechanical. Mechanical is one servo 90 degree. You got 90 degree, 120 degree, 140 degree, and then 140 degree 1=1. I have no clue what that is. Red solid is 120 degree, and that's exactly what I'm on. All you got to do, move your rudder stick, and you can move through the different menus. I want red solid, and there we go. Push the setup button again, go into menu I. This is going to set your swash plate servo directions. What you want to do is you want to move the throttle stick. Alright, blue solid is going to be normal everything. So whenever I move my stick, the odd man out is going to be your right servo or your aileron servo. So we'll move it again. We'll go to red. Now red, everything's moving right where it should be. Up is up, down is down. I know mine needs to be on red. Once you go through the 4 settings and you figure out which one you need, remember, it's on collective, make sure your throttle hold is on, guys. Either that or just unplug that motor. You don't need that motor. Once everything is set up and working correctly, we can move on to menu J. Alright, at menu point J, you're going to need a pitch gauge. Whether it be digital or analog, you're going to need a pitch gauge. If you're using a digital, make sure to calibrate it to your helicopter. Alright, what we want to do is we want to move the blades parallel to the boom. Go ahead and slide our pitch gauge on, and we should have a reading of 0 degrees of pitch. Right now I'm showing negative 3.7 degrees on that blade. Go ahead and spin it around, check this one. Negative 4.8. This is the most time-consuming part of setting up the AR7200BX. Again, if you need help setting up the head, guys, come on over to RC Help and we'll help you guys out. Once I have 0 degrees of pitch, everything's nice and level, then we'll move on to menu K. So I need to go back into menu G. Alright, as you can see, we're still in J. I have 0 degrees of pitch on the head. Now, we need to set this thing up so it knows where 6 degrees of cyclic pitch is. Now, the last time I set this up on the 600, I was never able to keep a blue light. We're going to find out if I can keep a blue light on this one. Alright, so what we want to do is we want to move our aileron until we reach 6 degrees of cyclic pitch. Alright, right there I'm at 6, and we have a red light. So at 5.3 degrees, I'm getting a red light. We'll go ahead and go in the opposite direction. And in the opposite direction, I've actually got a blue light. Alright, so I went back into menu G, made some adjustments. Now, we get to go back to 6 degrees again. And right there, 6 degrees. Now, to set this in there to where it knows where exactly 6 degrees is, all we're going to do is push the setup button one time. That's going to move into the next menu, which is adjusting the collective pitch range. Now, it is vitally important that you have a linear pitch curve in your radio whenever you are in this menu. If you don't, it's not going to set up right. So you need a 0 to 100 or a negative 100 to 100 pitch curve. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise the throttle all the way up. It's showing 11.6 degrees of pitch. Now, I can use my rudder stick and actually move my pitch to where I want it. I like about 12 degrees of pitch. All right, now that I got 12 degrees of positive, we'll move the stick all the way down. Right there, I've got 12.2, 12.1. So we'll go ahead and decrease that, and we'll go right at 12 degrees of negative pitch. Once you have your pitch set up, go ahead and push the button, and we'll move into menu L, which is adjusting the cyclic swash plate limit. Now in this one, what we're going to do is I'm at full negative pitch, and we're just going to move the cyclic stick around and make sure we're not binding anywhere. All right, now we'll go to full positive, and we'll move it around. You shouldn't see any binding anywhere whenever you're doing this. If you need to adjust it, like right there, I've got a little bit of a bind. You can move your rudder stick and actually decrease the amount of throw that you get. Right there, I'm getting no buzzing from the servos. We'll go all the way down, check that one again. One thing to remember, this status LED has to remain blue. If you go out and it goes red, then you need to find some way to get the binding to stop. I'll just move mine over until I'm right there in the blue. Everything is working perfectly. Now make sure, if you go into menu G, J, or K, you're going to have to go back in this menu L, and you're going to have to reset this up to keep the binding from happening. Alright, go ahead and hit the setup, go into menu M. Menu M is setting the swash plate sensor directions. This is going to adjust your gyros for your swash plate. So what we'll do is we'll tilt it forward, and the swash plate should tilt backwards. Tilt it back, and the swash plate should tilt forward. We tilt it to the right, the swash should go left. Tilt it to the left, the swash should go right. That swash should try its best to stay perfectly level no matter where you're moving the helicopter. Again, this is all covered in other videos we have, and if you need help, come on over to the forum, guys. We're there to help you guys out. Now, as you can see, I do have a blue light. Blue is normal. If your aileron needs to be reversed, then you need to go to a red solid. If your elevator needs to be reversed, go to a purple solid. If both of them need to be reversed, then that one, the status light should be turned off. Again, I need the blue light. That's a normal. That is the factory setting. All right, we'll go ahead, push the setup button, and go into menu N. Now menu N, this has got to be the coolest menu in the entire setup procedure. What we'll do, it raised the elevator up right here. Now, as you turn this helicopter around, this side, the back side, the one pointing away from me at this time, should stay at the high point of the swash travel. So what we'll do, I'll just spin that on around. Alright, on mine it's reversed. It's not staying, it's actually moving ahead of the helicopter. Now I got a red status light, that's going to be normal. What I need to do is move it over and get a blue status light. Now, I can spin it again. Now, as I spin that helicopter, it doesn't even look like that swash is moving. I know you guys can't really see it, but it's like the swash isn't even moving. And then from there, hit the setup button. Everything initializes. This helicopter is ready to fly. Alright everyone, so there you go. That is how easy it is to set up the basic settings in the AR7200BX. It's a piece of cake, guys. Yeah, you do everything on the gyro, but guys, it's just stupid simple to do it. You go into each parameter, you have your document on your computer, or you can print them out. You go through each step, menu A, menu B, menu C, so on and so forth until menu N, and then you're done. That's it. That gives you a very good starting point. It gives you moderate flight controls. It's still pretty soft. You do nothing with your dual rate and expo in your radio. That's going to be in a later video where we start to get into more of the advanced programming on the AR7200BX. As always, guys, if you have questions, there's a link in the description right below this video that goes to an article on the forum. Click on that link, come over, post up questions. If you want to see a specific video on this gyro, post it in there and let me know what video you guys want to see. I want to thank everyone for watching. I look forward to seeing you on the forum, and we'll see you guys in the next video.